Welcome to FCPS All-Stars. Our guest today is Erica French, 8th grade teacher with Ballinger Creek Middle School. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Glad to have you with us today.
Great to be here.
It seems that you are one of those people who knew from a very, very early age exactly what you wanted to be when you grow up.
I did. I can't remember ever wanting to be anything else. I've just kind of always wanted to be a teacher. It was a very natural thing for me.
Did teaching run in your family, or was there some aha moments that made you decide, I think I want to be a teacher?
It did not run in my family. At an early age, so early that I really can't remember, but I got a chalkboard for Christmas, which must have at that point meant that I had already implied that I wanted to be a teacher. Why else would you get a chalkboard? But I got a chalkboard for Christmas, and that was kind of it. It was the thing that made me just stay wanting to be a teacher, and that was early enough that I decided to keep going with it.
A lot of teachers that I've met who knew early on what they wanted to be, they practiced a lot. So who were your students?
My first student was my brother. He was lucky enough to be, my first student. But if you ask him today, he will say, that he actually, at that early age when I was 10 and he was, I don't even know how young, that I was teaching him things. I remember my parents going to conferences for him and coming home and saying, yeah, apparently Tim says in school that he already learned this because his sister taught him at home. And so he was my first student, and he was a good student.
Well, it looks like you're expecting a special delivery sometime fairly soon.
Very soon, August 11th. So,
ooh.
Yes, very soon.
Okay. Now, is this your first?
It will be my first. My husband and I are expecting a little girl. We're very excited.
And I understand that you have a four-legged baby as well.
We do. We have a little fur baby that we've had for a while. Bree, she's our pet. She's our dog. She has kind of become our first child, and she goes with us everywhere and does a lot of the things that we do together with us.
Okay, and what's your husband's name?
My husband's Matt.
And what do you and Matt and Bree like to do in your spare time?
The three of us love to be outdoors, so we like to do a lot of hiking, a lot of fishing when we can. Even Bree goes on the fishing trips with us a lot of time. She does. She does. She goes on the boat. She's kind of the overseer of all that, but yeah.
Do you all like sports?
We do. That's one thing that he always says that he got very lucky with, is having a wife that really enjoys sports.
Okay.
But yeah, we are big Orioles fans. I'm a big Ravens fan. That's the one thing we differ. He likes the Giants. And then of course Maryland sports. We like the Maryland college sports too. So that's another thing we spend a lot of our time doing, is going to a lot of different sporting events.
So I understand that you also have a hobby that's been keeping you pretty busy lately.
Yeah, it's a newer hobby that I've gotten into. I like to refinish furniture. I consider myself a little bit of a DIYer.
DIY?
Yeah, it's kind of been fun, and it's nice to, I like to consider myself a creative person, not always the most, but with this I have been, and it's been nice. I've been able to kind of find some cool pieces of furniture and bring them back to life. And
all right, so tell me about some of your treasures.
My favorite one is like a piece of furniture that I've been on the hunt for a while. It's a secretary desk, and I just always thought they were really cool because they had cool little compartments and they multi-purpose. So I did find one that was really cool last summer, and I worked on that pretty hard and refinished that. And then recently I've been doing all the baby's furniture. It's all been stuff that I have found through different vintage shops and refinished. So that's been nice to put kind of a personal touch on the baby furniture.
Okay, so does your secretary have like a lot of cool hidden compartments and all that?
It does.
Kind of
it
stuff?
has this like little, it looks like it's just spindles, and you pull them out and there's like secret compartments in it. I got very hopeful when I discovered it that I would find some awesome treasure, but I didn't.
Okay. What do you love most about teaching?
I know like a lot of times teachers will say that they love that like aha moment in their students. I guess you could say something similar to that for me, but I like that moment where I can see in the students that they realize what they're capable of. It's not necessarily an aha moment, but it's a moment where they're like, I can do this, and they figure out what they're capable of learning and understanding. And a lot of times that happens in my classroom through investigative learning. And a phrase that any student of mine will always say that I say all the time is, productive struggle, which, I'll start off a class and say, today we're going to start with a productive struggle, and there's some whines and grumbles, and they just want to sit and listen to me talk and take notes. But we do a lot of backwards learning and flipped classroom, and it's a little bit of a rocky road for them, but they realize parts of the way through it that they're forming their own learning, and they're figuring things out on their own, and using what they've learned before and in other classes and in history and language arts to kind of form understanding in math. And that moment where they kind of realize, hey, this is not too bad, and they start learning and realizing connections, that's my favorite part.
So sometimes when we step into our purpose and our passion, we feel fully prepared. And sometimes when we get to that moment, there are certain things we find that are kind of unexpected. Did you have any of those moments once you finally became a true, legitimate teacher?
Well, I had not so much unexpected, but when I was growing up, you had asked if I had teaching ran in my family, and it didn't, but a neighbor, friend of mine, her mom was a teacher. And she used to humor us now looking back and give us, pieces of paper, and she would say, hey, do you guys want to grade papers for me? In hindsight, she was not allowing us to actually grade her papers.
Like her scrap paper or something.
Yeah, they were, scrap papers, or she was really just giving us paper for us to put stickers on. But I just thought, at that age when I was so excited about becoming a teacher, I thought that grading papers was like the coolest thing in the world, and I was just so excited to do it, and a stack of papers was the most exciting thing. These days, as I've gotten a little bit older and priorities have changed maybe a little bit, or I've gotten a little bit busier, bringing home a stack of papers is not necessarily my favorite thing in the world to grade, but it is part of teaching, and it is part of learning what the students know. But yeah, that was kind of a shift in what I thought was the coolest part of teaching, was that stack of papers to take home. So.
Well, at least you got some prep work for it. At least
I wasn't totally caught off guard.
Yeah. Well, Erica, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us as well for our next episode of FCPS All-Stars. In the meantime, don't forget, shine on.